Hey, what's up, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy, along here with... I'm not going to say it.
Kyoji.
I'm not going to say it. You have to say it.
You can call me Matt. It's fine.
Cool. Well, we're here today to talk about Ravnica Remastered. I always feel like whenever I'm ready to talk about a set, I can't remember what the set is called this time, but I got it. It's Ravnica Remastered, so there we go. Overall thoughts, how do you feel about this set?
I love Ravnica as a plane altogether. I started right before the original Ravnica came out, so it's kind of like my starting point for Magic. And I feel like that's also the same with a lot of other people. A lot of people associate themselves with guilds because of this set. So, like, I'm a Gruul mage, I'm a Azorius mage, I'm a Orzhov mage, things like that. It all started here in Ravnica.
I love that. And I think, too, like, I have a similar experience, but it was... Okay, so we've gone to Ravnica 3 times, correct?
Yes.
Ravnica, Return to Ravnica. I call it Return to Ravnica. So I started in 2012, and so I believe in 2013 was when RTR came out, or it was maybe like 2014. It was one of those.
It was 2012.
It was 2012? Okay. Well, anyways, I remember going to this pre-release and doing this, and Paul and I were so hyped on the mill train. We were like, Demir, we were like, yes, all about that, which is so funny because now that's... But it's actually really funny that I say that. I was going to say Paul and I are not onto that now, but actually he has a Bruvac deck, which is mono blue mill, which is funny that we're talking about this because he's getting a reprint, which I thought was very funny, so...
Yes, I will also be talking about Bruvac because I have words about him.
Well, you know what? Let's just start here because Bruvac.
Yeah,
I
no
feel
one
like
cares
it's
about Gideon. He's dead. Let's go to the next guy.
We're not talking about him. We're skipping over him. If we talked about every card, we would be here until the end of time. And I don't know about y'all.
Oh
but
yeah,
like,
we're keeping this to 15 minutes like the last video. Ravnica Remastered is all 9 main block sets and then just cards that are associated with Ravnica. So Bruvac came from Jumpstart, but he is from the Azorius Senate. He's part of the Persistent Petitioners, hence his whole ability of doubling up mill. I have a 5-color Persistent Petitioners deck, and I run Bruvac in it, and I want the old frame for it.
Wishlist for you. I think it's a good reprint because, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was only ever printed the one time, I think, before, so it was really expensive.
In the one Jumpstart product, I think the first one or the second one. I don't care.
Me too.
He's only been printed once. This is his first time in foil, and the old frame foil of it is like $200 on Card Kingdom right now.
Man, that's wild. That is wild. I mean...
Mill is a very popular yet bad mechanic.
This is a solid reprint. Do I personally care? No, but I think it's cool because he's expensive and it's, we like to see it. I didn't know that...
I'm in foil for those of us who want him in foil.
There you go. Let's see. I'm going to jump to Guardian Project because I think Guardian Project is so cool. I have it in Reen. I feel like I'm trying to remember if I have this anywhere else. I don't think I do. This is an awesome card. I think it's a really solid card draw option for you. You just have to be aware because it's non-token, so like can't run this in like an Omnath build or something like that. But I really like this card. I think it's cool. I think this is like an EDH player's like, it's like made for EDH,
It's better than Phyrexian Arena. It's also really bad in my Persistent Petitioners deck, which is the only deck I would want to run it in right now. But no, I think it's a staple. It's my staple that I have veered away from in reference to your last video. It's very good. It's card draw. You always should be able to trigger it whenever a creature enters battlefield. What do you think of it being upshifted to Mythic?
You always point these things out and I never notice them. Yeah, interesting. I don't think that
Yeah,
that's
there's a couple
necessary.
in this set. I'm also going to be talking about a lot of the downshifts too, because those are
Yes.
cards that I care about.
Please point those out because I never notice that stuff and I feel like you do. So, yeah, I don't think that that's necessary. I don't think that the card is like, oh my gosh, or anything like that. But circling back to your point about it being better than like a card like Phyrexian Arena, I like that this is like a constant sort of trigger where something like that is like on every upkeep and you do lose life. So I think if you're playing like black green, I'd probably nix. I don't think I run Phyrexian Arena. No, do I have Phyrexian
I
Arena?
Granted, I also
Huh.
haven't played Arena in a while. I want
Yeah.
to, but the format has changed so much where a do nothing enchantment such as Phyrexian Arena doesn't really do much these days.
Hmm.
I feel like Guardian Project doesn't do anything on its own either. Like you
Yeah.
need other creatures to make it work. You should always have a creature because
Yeah.
of your commander, but it's a really bad top deck, and it's really bad when you need gas and you play it and nothing else happens afterwards.
Yeah,
But
that's fair. That's fair.
it's still a good card. A lot of people are going to be excited for its reprint. It has an old frame foil
Oh,
or old
cool.
frame border, right? Planic Rift, another upshift in rarity, probably deserving, but I think that's only because the secondary market exists, and even though WotC refuses to admit it, yes, they do care about the secondary market. Cyclonic Rift is one of the best cards in Commander. I think its grasp as the number one card in the format has dwindled over time because people just started to refuse to play with it because
Hmm.
it's too strong. But it is the one of the best board wipes in the format, and it having a reprint with new art, having a version in the new frame cat,
Two.
two cats. Cyclonic Rift, it's good. If you don't
Yeah.
have one, now's a good chance to pick one up.
Yeah, I picked up a bunch when I think it was Commander Masters came out or so in the summer. Or I guess it was, yeah, I think it was like early summer. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about this. I miscounted how many I needed, and so I actually need another foil for Riku. And I love this art. I love purple. I love the blues. I think it looks super cool. So I'm really excited that they gave this different art as well, because when you think about it, I mean, they printed it in Commander Masters and then they're printing it like 6 months later, which really isn't a long time to go. Like that's pretty short. So I'm excited
Well,
to see it.
if you keep reprinting it, then more people will have it, and regardless on how much it is, there's more available for people.
But it's a cool reprint. I feel like
Yeah, when I like when the invitational cards get reprinted with new art and not have the winner on it anymore. That was sarcasm.
I forgot that they used to do that. I
Yeah,
totally forgot about that.
yeah. Bob, Dark Confidant has been a staple in any like 60 card format. He was really good in standard. He was really good in modern for a long time.
Hmm.
Him having a reprint is like a favor towards the modern players that
Hmm.
or the newer modern players who don't want to spend $50 to $70 on them. If you have a really low like mana curve, he's good. Like if you constantly flip like zeros or ones,
Hmm.
um, just it's better than Phyrexian Arena.
The video is like Ravnica Remastered thoughts, parenthetical, why Phyrexian Arena should not be played, and parenthetical. Here's my thing with Bob, and I'm going to be talking about him actually in an upcoming video, is I think if you kind of have to play around it, I feel like in my experience, because the thing is like I don't mind paying for my life total. Like the other day I was playing with Argyl's Bloodfast and I was like, take two, take two, take two, take two, you need to draw all these cards, and I was very nearing death because of that. I think that the lack of I like the more like control that I have with a card like Argyl's Bloodfast, whereas something like this is like out of my control. But I think if you're playing cards like top or things like that where you're manipulating your top, things like
Top,
that.
scroll rack, soothsaying, other ways to manipulate the top of your library.
Yeah.
Yes, it becomes more controlled. on his own, it's like whatever. It's you take 5 sometimes, you take 7
Yeah.
sometimes, or you take 0 because you draw a land.
I just don't want to be in that position, so I just don't personally run it, but that's just a me thing, so there you go.
Greatness at any cost.
Because here's my thing is I would do this with like playing Dig Through Time, and I'm like, all right, take 8. So that would be, or Treasure Cruise, take 8. So there you go. All right, Bob, what else you got? What else are you head for?
Lord of the Void. The
Oh.
7/7 for 7 demon that is 0 in Kalia. I haven't seen this played in a long time, partly because the format has shifted so much, but it's such a strong combat damage trigger. Where you exile the top 7 from your opponent and take one of their creatures for free it's another good reprint. Another upshifted, but only because they didn't have mythic rares in Guild Pack. It's the Boogeyman combo piece from Flash Hulk from what 2 years ago? I forgot when Flash was banned, but some CDH players still use it. Minsk and Boo, not the Planeswalker, the Naya commander. You could use X equals 0 just to sacrifice a creature. So you make the 6/6 into a 0/0, kill it, and then proceed to combo off after that.
What you got?
Spark Double. Spark Double is a really cool clone. My only gripe about it is that it removes the legendary. It was the first one to do that, and they kind of kept using that template for clones. So that you could have multiple of the same legend. I don't particularly like clones that have that clause because it makes the uniqueness of having, or the downside of only having one legend in play not a downside anymore.
Yeah.
Rift Calling.
Yeah. Old art, too.
Been a staple in the format for a long time. Gets any creature that's X or less. Big green decks or token decks or decks that go wide. It's a really good way to tutor out your best card, tutor out a silver bullet. Like against a Wrath, you could like Court of Calling, get Selfless Spirit to save your board. If the artifact deck's going crazy, Court of Calling for Collector Oof, or if you want to win the game, you Court of Calling for Craterhoof and stomp on everyone.
It's also instant, which I think is really cool. So there you go. And it goes just right into the battlefield. So yeah. And they use the old art for this, which I also found. I'm pretty sure this is the older art for it.
This is the original art, yes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
From the Loam has been one of my favorite cards of all time. Dredge 3, so you could replace your draw with getting it back, and milling 3 cards is not a big deal. And you get to pick up lands that you sacrifice, like Strip Mine, Fetch Lands, Cycling Lands. Cycling Lands are really good with Life from Loam, so you could cycle at instant speed to get the life from the loam back.
I often find myself exiling lands from my yard so often. So I feel like whenever, like in Tasigur, for example, which is why I don't run Life from the Loam, because I'm always exiling them for like Dig Through Time or like Tasigur costs. But I think if you're doing things like you're constantly bringing back your Strip Mine or whatever, there you go.
I mean, you could also use like the Dredge 3 to add more cards to your graveyard to dredge.
True.
To delve away for Tasigur or your other cards.
True. Good point.
The Paradise is really good. It's the term Bolt the Bird came from Alpha because of the accelerant you get on turn 1 is really strong, even in this day and age. Although there's like couple dozen versions of it now of 1 mana ramp, but always being able to color fix with birds has been really good.
I agree. Birds is a great commander staple, and I think always seeing it being reprinted is a really good thing. So, yeah.
Gas is been a card that's gone up over time because the last time it was printed was Commander 14.
Wow.
it can be played in mono black decks, even though the extort has a reminder text of black white. Reminder text doesn't add to color identity. But doubling up on your mana production of swamps is really strong. And just getting that little bit of chip damage in with the extort.
I agree. I think Gast is a great card. I haven't played with this card in a very long time, but I think it's an excellent card. I think especially if you're playing, like, you can play this in mono black, but I can definitely see you playing it in other things that you do have a lot of swamps in. And I really like extort as a mechanic. I think
or at
it's
least
very
an
good.
Urborg.
True.
Blind Obedience, I think, is really good, and I think more people should be playing it with the epidemic of treasure tokens.
I agree. I got a copy of Blind, which it was, again, a card that I hadn't run in a really long time. I got a copy and I put it in Marchesa, and it's so funny because I was like, I put it in there, but then I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll like play with this, and I was playing this, and again that extort, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I feel like sometimes people underestimate chip damage, and I definitely do not think you should. This card's awesome.
I love that Tidespout Tyrant's been reprinted. It's a rude card. It used to be the dominant polymorph target for a lot of decks, and it bounces lands. Unlike Hullbreaker Horror, but Hullbreaker is stronger and has replaced a lot of Tidespout Tyrants.
I've actually played this.
It's gonna be good in draft. Yeah, bounce all those tap lands and make people fall behind.
I've played this in AC, and I've cast... Why am I blanking on the card right now? The one that makes 5 copies of things?
Rite of Replication.
I've Rite of Replication this, and you haven't lived until you have 6 of these, and then every time you cast a spell, you get to bounce 6 things. People tend to scoop their cards up when you do that.
Reaper. Good card draw. It's like the opposite of Guardian Project. You want things to die rather than enter the battlefield. And just like black, you lose life for drawing the cards.
Yeah, very simple card.
I think this is still going to be a bulk, like $1 or less card. But it's still good. People should be playing it. Golgari Grave Troll, still staple in 60 card formats. I think it's fine in Commander. Dredge 6 is the highest dredge count that you could use. So if you want to fill up your graveyard a lot, you could just dredge the troll back to your hand. And sometimes you play it and it's like a 12/12. At least in the decks I play, because I actually have graveyards, unlike you. Sprawl, just like I said about the 1 mana ramp. Sprawl's a restrictive wild growth, except you could tap it for any color. But it has to be on a forest.
You know, I've never actually played with this card, and now I'm seeing it, and I've always really enjoyed it. I've just never played. I feel like I've just always played other things, but I think I might pick one of these up and probably put it in like Omnath or something. I mean, it can realistically go wherever.
They are not as expensive as they used to. I remember they were pushing like $4 or $5. Vengeance got downshifted. When it dies, you deal damage to the power to player or planeswalker. You play a bunch of big creatures. You play things that die all the time, sacrifice things. It just adds up the damage over time.
There you go. Simple. Ooh, card I want to talk about. Farseek. Great card. I love Farseek.
Don't look for forest.
You cannot.
Correct. It's really bad. And then I always end up finding a dual land that has a forest type on it with it anyway.
Yes, I do the same thing. I'll get my tri-lands most of the time when I'm playing with Farseek, but if not, definitely the Shocklands.
Yeah, they originally made it with the idea of getting Shocklands, and then later on the Triomes came out. The common dual lands from Kaldheim and Dom United also came out. So there's plenty of different different types of dual lands you could fetch with it.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Demon Fire, not a good fireball, but it was downshifted to uncommon.
So interesting observation.
When you have no cards in hand, the damage can't be prevented and it can't be countered. Someone might figure out it's actually a good counter or a good finisher in their decks.
Huh. Playcrafter. Oh, I am so excited about this card. Playcrafter is a very interesting card because it was printed a couple of times. Not a ton, but it only had one version of foil. However, the foil was really expensive. When this is like a 25-cent card and the foil was like $10, it was just obscene. So I'm very excited to see this as a reprint. I like this card a lot. I run this in Mugas, which is my sacrifice deck. And then you're left with a 3/2. There you go.
It's just a strong card. And if they don't have a creature or planeswalker to sacrifice, they have to discard a card. So I ran it in my humans deck for a while just because I could recur it.
I like that. Yeah, I've definitely done a lot of stuff with that in Mugas because I have a solid amount of recursion. It's a good card. I like it.
Quicken.
Yeah.
Your next sorcery is at flash speed and draw a card. At worst case, it's just like a cantrip that you play in the early game. Or best case, you cast a wrath on your opponent's turn without them expecting it.
Seems pretty good. I haven't seen anyone use Quicken in a really long time, but I think it's a cool card.
Remand is in my opinion, an underrated counterspell. If you cast it at the right time, they're probably not going to be able to recast what you countered. And it cantrips on top of that. And it since it's 1 in a blue instead of blue, it's easier to splash in multicolor. When we talked about our Boreal Grazer and how much the foils were for some reason, because they're still like $18 for some reason.
This card, it's so funny you said that because my eyes went to this card and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this card before. And I was like, this is pretty cool.
Wow. Another 1 mana, put a land from your hand into play.
Oh, and it's a 0/3 reach. Yo, I need this.
Yeah, it's good with like the ETB tap lands, like the snow duels that we were talking about earlier, the triomes, or anything you just want to have enter tapped. It puts any land into play, so you can put like a Karoo into play with it and pick up the land that you use to play it. Oh,
that's so cool. That's awesome. I like that it's any land. I mean, it enters tapped, but I honestly think like it doesn't matter. And you're left with a 0/3 reacher.
Yeah, a 0/3 on turn 1 is strong in the early game.
And then you have 2 lands going into your turn 2. That sounds so good. All right, well, I'm picking this card up. I was looking at cards to get for AC that are Omnath, I think, is more instants and sorceries getting lands, and then I want AC to be more creatures getting lands. One, to just make it a little different, and 2, I just want AC to have more creatures, and this I think I'm going to pick up. I'm glad you talked about this because it wasn't on my radar before, but it is now. Oh my god. I just noticed what you did. Sorry, I just noticed a card that I didn't notice until right now is this card that I want to talk about called Fist of Ironwood. So, I'm building my Queen Alenal deck, and this was one of the cards that I looked at for my build, and I was like, this card's really cool because it not only gives trample, which is really cool, but you get 2 1/1s for 2 mana. Like, it's one of those cards that I think looks like you're looking at this like, this is pretty underwhelming. Like, it's not good, but for what I'm trying to do in that build, it's so good. Really cool. And also, too, like, I was looking at this card, like, again, you're looking at it, you're like, this is good, but not, like, the foil's, like, $5, which is, like, ridiculous. So, this is definitely on my list. I'm definitely picking it up. I'm gonna just put it to the side so I can remember that it came out.
And, Persistent Petitioners.
What color is it?
It's blue.
Blue. Hold up.
It's next to last Gast.
Found it. Got it. Target player mills Tap 4 untapped advisors you control. Advisor Tribal. A
Yep.
deck can have any number cards.
So during the Ravnica
Mm-hmm.
Allegiance, when this first came out, me and like 3 or 4 other people were building their own petitioners deck. So there was none in stock at my LGS. Uh, my friend built Grand Arbiter so that all of them cost blue. I ended up playing. I originally started with Muldrotha for my petitioners deck because I wanted to play Blood Bond March. So it says when when a player casts a creature spell, you resurrect all creatures of the same name.
That's so
So
good.
when I petitioner myself and self mill, I get to get all of them back, all at once, and then it eventually ended up being a 5-color deck that again isn't actually good.
But it's funny.
It's funny, like I built it well. It doesn't win me that many games because mill is a very hated archetype. Sabotage for commons. I hate cancel with a passion.
Wait.
So anything that's cancel with upside, I always tell people to pick up. Because like a lot of people are like, oh, I can't afford anything else. I'm like, I have a list of like 30 cards that are 1 blue that are better than cancel.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Sabotage is definitely one of them, and this one's also downshifted to common, so I could play it in Pauper.
There you go. I like this card. I was actually just playing with it the other day, and I like the little surveil. I like having the option to put that in my yard if I don't want it. So there you go. All right, moving on to my in my opinion, like my fave section, which is the multicolor. I just love me a good multicolor moment. That rhymes. Multicolor moment. Some really cool stuff in this. What I'm really excited about it this lot is Prime Speaker Zagana. As soon as I saw Prime Speaker Zagana, and I always love when I'm thinking about a card and then it gets like a reprint and I'm like, who's in my head? Because I was thinking about this where it's kind of in a similar situation to like Plaguecrafter, where it's been printed a couple of times, but it only has the one foil version, which is in Gatecrash, I believe. And it's expensive. I mean, it's like a $12 foil for the card being only like $1 or so. So I'm very excited to see it. It's a great card. I love Prime Speaker Zagana.
Yeah, Prime Speaker Zagana, like, back when Gatecrash first came out, it was one of the few good Simic commanders, because you would play a bunch of draw spells, play a bunch of ramp, and then after your hand is emptied out, you played her, put like 5 or 6 counters on it, and then draw that many +1 because it's equal to her power.
Everybody forgets.
It's really good with doubling season and cards like that double the counters.
God, yes. This card's awesome. You also know that I really like a card when I run it in multiple decks. So I have this in Ladies, I have this in AC, and I think once I build my new Aragorn the United deck, this is also going in there. It's just, I love it.
Master Cruelties, just like Lord of the Void. Really good in Kalia since it one-shots with Kalia. But also it doesn't see that much play anymore because of just how the format's changed. I love First Strike Death Touch, so it's an infinite blocker. Teferi Time Raveler, yet another rare, upshifted to Mythic. I think this one deserves it, though. Teferi is very strong in every format that people play it in. Being able to stop people from interacting with you on your turn is a very strong ability. I've heard of people using Captain Sisei to tutor him out. So you go end step, activate Sisei, get Time Raveler, and then go into your turn with no interaction and combo off. Nimizet Perun's very strong. I think it's the best version of Nimizet. It can't be countered. Whenever someone tries to remove it with an instant or sorcery, you get to draw a card and deal damage. He still combos off with Curiosity and the bunch. He also has an old frame foil, which I want.
I like it. It's a cool card. I don't feel like I'm familiar with this version of the card. Like I'm thinking of OG, I think Niv Mizzet, so. This one doesn't
Yeah.
feel familiar to me. I don't know.
It saw a lot of play in CDH when it first came out because it is the combo piece that can't be countered. It's also just in your command zone, and all you need is the other half. And there's like 5 versions of it that you could combo off with.
That's ridiculous, man. That's crazy.
So the Ghostcil, this is going to be its first time in foil.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It's the payoff to all those bad life gain cards where you gain life, you get some counters, you get to Voltron someone to death, and then you just pay 2 mana and exile someone else's creature,
That's so
and then
cool.
do the whole loop again.
That's cool. I like that.
What do you think of the 1 mana Planeswalker?
The 1 mana Planeswalker. Oh, Deathrite Shaman?
Yes.
I was like, I had to really think about that. I was like, is there a 1 mana Planeswalker? Does that exist? It's interesting. You know how some cards you just never play with in your life? Like, Deathrite's one of mine, and it's not for a particular reason. Like, I could very easily pick this up. I don't know why I haven't. I don't have a reason.
When you play in a metagame where fetch lands of every variety is available, it's an amazing card. If you play against people that self-mill, if you play with a mill deck, as long as there is always fuel for the taking a land out for mana, it's good.
Yeah, I do really enjoy it. I think I'm just at this point, like, if I were to put it in Tassiger, like, what would I take out? You know what I mean? So.
A rules thing with it, exiling the land to make mana is not a mana ability, so someone else could stifle the ability by exiling the land that you target.
Is it the same thing for the instants and sorceries and creatures? They can also respond to it? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Normally, like, adding mana to your mana pool most of the time,
Oh.
you can't respond to it because they're all mana abilities.
Got
Deathrite
it.
Shaman is not a mana ability.
Got it. That's very interesting. I like that. Speaking of things I like, Void Slime. Was this going to be one of the cards that you wanted to talk about too?
I've always liked Void Slime. I still don't have the full art foil from the Champs promo or whatever. Because that's the only Void Slime I want to play.
The specific art. I haven't seen that in a while. I'll look it up after this video, but this is a really cool one because it's one of those similar to what we talked about before. It's like existed, but the foil was always expensive. It's also better than Cancel. And you know what I like too is that it's a multicolor thing. So when I build that Multicolor Matters deck, Multicolor Matters, I just thought about that right now. That was pretty cool. I'm gonna probably run this because I feel like typically you got a lot of like blue, just straight blue counter spells. So I'm gonna pick this up for that deck. It's a good card.
You could get it to your hand with the Niv-Mizzet Reborn, the 5 mana one that looks at the top 10 and you get guild color cards.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
I've always liked Void Slime having the versatility of countering a Planeswalker ultimate, or fetch land, or end of turn triggers.
Just anything.
It's a very versatile card.
Yeah.
It's very color restrictive because you need blue, green for it. But outside of that, it's fun. I've always liked the card. I should probably play it more often.
I think it's cheeky because I think then someone's setting up for their big, cool activated ability or triggered ability or whatever, and you're just like, no. And I love that.
So do you remember when Sphinx's Rev was really good and dominated formats?
I don't, because I've always loved Sphinx's Rev.
Brain Spring, I think, was the nickname originally because it was Brain Geyser and Life Spring.
I love that.
One card. This one's downshifted to a normal rare, so more people could have access to it. It's still good. Gain X life, draw X cards.
I love it. I have it in Grand Arbiter. It's always a good time, you know?
I just remembered in Standard when I would skull crack in response, and they don't gain any life, and they're still at like 4 with me having lethal in play.
For me, the life is just an added bonus. I'm always doing it to draw cards. The life is like, oh, cool, this is nice.
So you know a really underrated extra turn spell is Stitch in Time?
I don't, but you know what? Now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, maybe I just jam this in Riku.
50% of the time you'll take an extra turn.
Yeah, and then in Riku, you can just do it however many times.
It was very divided when they were testing this set as for limited.
Huh.
Because there'd be half of them that are saying, I will splash for this card no matter what deck I'm playing.
Huh.
And other people are saying, this is unplayable, I'm never going to touch this card.
Here's my thought, though.
Which is a good divide to have.
Yeah.
But
here's my thought, though, is you tap out... In my case with Riku, I would tap to play this card, copy it, whatever, not get any extra turns. Now my mana's tapped, and I'm sad. Knowing myself and how that would go.
That's the risk, but the reward is you have a time stretch.
Oh, man, I don't know. I'll stick to my Expropriate and casting that and doing that 7 times, so...
Rhythm of the Wild with new art.
Yep. It's a great card.
Will have an old border frame to it, which I need for my cube.
It's a great card.
It's one of those like uncommons that are oddly expensive, but it was also printed in the pre-variant time. So it's worth a lot, and it probably shouldn't.
I really like Rhythm of the Wild. I like the versatility with it. You know, I found most of the time you're probably doing haste, but I like the option of, like, if there doesn't make sense to give it haste, then you just make it bigger, and then the creature spells can't be countered.
If giving it haste means it gets to ram into something and dies, like, then there's no point to give it haste. You just give it the 1/1 counter.
Yep.
Or if your creatures have haste naturally or from other things, you just give it the 1/1 counter.
There you go. But then it also got the bonus of creature spells can't be countered, which is awesome.
Yes. I think that's primarily why people play it.
Yeah.
Is so your creature spells don't get countered.
Yep.
I believe this is the first reprint of Mayhem Devil.
Mayhem Devil. This card is good.
Yes.
With treasures running rampant, Paul has this in his treasure deck, I believe.
I would hope so.
Good. It's ridiculous. You get to do it to any target, which is incredible. You can stack some damage, right? Okay, 3 things. I'm going to do 3 damage to this creature to kill it. It's when people are sacrificing things like crazy, it's just a great card.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who sacrifices what permanent. You could crack a fetch land. Your opponent could crack a fetch land. Your opponent could sacrifice a creature to natural order.
Yeah.
But it still triggers. Do you still run Coiling Oracle?
I can't imagine a world in which I don't run Coiling Oracle. Yeah, that's gonna be my thing.
I don't run it as much as I should. But I do like Coiling Oracle as one of the cards that helps filter into your deck, because it either ramps you by putting the extra land into play, or it adds a card to your hand. And
then it's a 1/1, and it's like a Skull Clamp perfect target. I love it. I love it. I run this in AC. I run it in Tasigur. You can't go wrong with Coiling Oracle.
Old Frame Foil. Judge's Familiar. Judge's Familiar used to be one of my favorite cards. Partly because I was a judge at the time. And anytime I was helping someone become a judge and they passed the test and stuff, I would give them a foil.
I love that. That's so wholesome.
It's downshifted to common, so I could run it in Pauper. That's
cool. I like that you point out all that stuff, because like otherwise I wouldn't really notice, so I think that's cool.
For limited, Sky Knight Legionnaire, it's a Ravnica set, so it has to be in the set.
Is that a requirement?
It has to. You need Sky Knight Legionnaire. It's one of the best like Boros aggro cards for limited. I love this alt art for Wild Cantor.
I was looking at that too. It's pretty.
It's a good spell. again, 1 mana ramp spells are really good. This one color fixes for you. It's a lotus petal that you could skull clamp.
Cloudstone Curio.
Combo piece.
So
I think
cool.
it's boring, but I'm glad it's been reprinted in a normal set. Because I think the last time it was reprinted, it was the Invention, the really expensive artifact.
Oh,
From or lottery card.
Yeah.
You play this with Dockside, and you should win the game, right?
Yeah, I can kind of understand about you thinking, like, it's boring. I also think, too, like, I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes I just, like, don't want to think when I play Magic. And I feel like this card requires so much thinking, and sometimes I just don't have the capacity to do that. And I feel like you need to be adamant about your Cloudstone Curio triggers. But I've seen this, like, dominate Chromatic Lantern.
Mana Rock.
It's a great card.
So you think less about your color sources.
Yes.
I like the Chromatic Lantern for when you have lands that don't tap for mana, and it lets you tap them for mana, such as like Glacial Chasm, my Bazaar Baghdad. It also lets your fetch lands tap for mana, so before you crack them, you could just keep using them for mana, and then when you're set up to use Field of the Dead, Valakut, things like that, then you can crack your fetch lands afterwards to get the value. I don't like that half these fetch lands or half these signets are from the original set, and then the other ones are from the reprint set.
I didn't even notice that until you said it. That's funny, and that's a very weird design choice to me because
there's
usually
no rhyme or reason. There's like 2 allied color ones and 3 enemy color ones.
This is wild to me. The signets are really great. My personal favorite art, I think I love this Orzhov signet art. I think it's stunning. I have like 2 foils randomly that I'm not utilizing right now, so I need to figure out something to do with them. But this is great. This is Simic Signet's a bar of soap.
I thought you were going to say Simic Signet because it's the bar of soap.
It is the bar of soap, and I hope now, to those watching, I hope you always remember when you see this card, it's the bar of soap, just if you needed that little thing. Also, the Azorius Signet art has always irritated me because the colors do not make sense for it being blue and white, and that has always highly irritated me in this art.
Yeah, I never liked any of the newer ones.
That's fair. But excited to see them being reprinted. I'm really bothered that you mentioned that they're all different, like they're all mixed, which is a really weird design choice. I'm really curious about why that was the case. But also, to answer that point, I'm pretty sure I do have many foil bars of soap, like at least 2, and then I think I have the alternate one as well. So I have a lot of bars of soap.
So how many shock lands are you going to be picking up?
Yes, let's talk about that. It's funny that we're kind of chatting about one of these last because I feel like this is one of the first things I wanted to talk about.
At the bottom of the page, and I'm
true.
The first set of shock lands on Mythic Spoilers is like 60% of the way down the page because there's all the alternate arts.
Yes.
Underneath all that, which I want to talk about a few of them.
For sure, yeah. This is awesome. I'm excited. I'm also excited that there's like the whole set because I oftentimes feel like we do the enemy and we do the allies and like different things. So when we're going to talk about the upcoming set of fetch lands that I predict will be in Modern Horizons, I think a lot of people are predicting that those opposite colors will be in there as well, but like I like that they're all together and all condensed. I've been very into things matching lately, like lands. I want all my lands to like be the same. I want like my set symbols for like my lands to be the same, and I feel like this is gonna be really cool. I do need a set of these for ladies foil because I own all the shocks, but I only own 1 foil, so I might get these. It just depends on cost of stuff. So yeah.
Which foils are you thinking of getting?
So there's
Are you going to get the normal? Are you going to get the borderless? Or are you going to get the old frame?
So this is where Magic gets super complicated because there's so many versions of things. I don't even know if I registered that there were borderless or that there were old borders. Probably not the old borders because I don't think that ladies is that. Probably not the borderless, even though these are pretty and I do like them. It might either the borderless or the base.
So all the borderless ones, the arts were used before they were on Magic Online for
Oh,
a couple years ago.
I didn't know that. Okay.
But this is the first time these arts are going to be printed in paper.
That's cool.
They all look good. I like all of them. They aren't the things I'm going for. Actually, to be perfectly honest, the only Shocklands I'm getting from this set is Old Border Foil Hollowed Fountain and Old Border Foil Sacred Foundry. Because those are the last two cards I need foil for my mono white control deck.
Got it. I like this mono white control. Yeah.
The majority of the like rares and mythics will be in the old border frame, which again I'm really looking into getting these. There's a couple that are here that aren't in like the draft packs. They're only in the like set collector boosters, such as Rest in Peace, Zero Safety, because they will ruin the draft format. But they still wanted to get these treatments out, and especially this Rest in Peace art. I really like it, other than the fact that it's not Gideon sitting there, because he's dead. But yeah, I really like all of these old frames, and I'm gonna be spending a lot of money on this set just for these because I want these old frame cards for my cube, my foil Child of Valara deck, and just that some of these cards I just want in the old frame.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. I, this entire time, was looking at the Blind Obedience, and I was like, yeah, Gideon! And then I realized I was looking at Blind Obedience and not Rest in Peace, so, LOL.
Acclamation. It's the at your end step untap all your lands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's okay. Oh, I didn't even realize that there were some different cards. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Supreme Verdict with the old frame. It's really cool. I have a friend that has the Niv Mizzet Reborn deck, and he's looking into getting the old frame foil. Maze's End, the memest of all. Niv Mizzet, the Firemine, has an old frame, but I think it's the Biobox promo.
It does look different. Like, it has a little swish, so it must be.
Shooting Star. The old frame foil treatment always had the Shooting Star way back when. I just like a lot of other people are mad it doesn't have the original flavor text.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the old flavor text was a math equation that spelt out Niv Mizzet equals number 1.
That's so weird that they changed that. Is that the first?
Shaman is the first hybrid card that has an old border treatment.
Really?
Yeah, because hybrid came out in original Ravnica, and they haven't actually done a old hybrid card until now.
What a fun fact. This looks so cool. From like the fading to the green to the black. That looks awesome. Maybe I do pick this up in the old border, put it in Tasigur. Maybe. I don't know. That's fun. That's fun. Yeah, Paul was talking about a lot of the artifacts, and he was saying how he's like, do I need a lot of these old artifacts? Because for Karn, they would look so cool. But he's like, I already have foil versions of like these cards, like Prize Shield and whatnot.
I think this set is going like, yeah, there's like a handful of cards that are like really expensive in foil, just because like it's the alt art treatment, and you could only get those most of those ones in the collector boosters.
Right.
But like the Hollowed Fountain Shockland, I'm going to be picking up. It's only $80 right now in pre-order. Like, and of course, once the set comes out, once a lot of people are opening a lot of the product. I know there's still stores that still open a lot of products so that they could sell the singles.
Right.
So a lot of the cheap stuff will get cheaper. A lot of the medium stuff will get cheaper. And if you don't have any of these cards and you want them, I would pick them up roughly around the time of release or a week or so after. Just gauge the prices yourself to pick up what you need.
Yeah.
If you need Shocklands, pick them up now. They'll always be good. And they'll be cheap now and then go up over time.
Yeah.
I like some of these. I love anime, but a lot of these ones specifically I'm not the biggest fan of. Like, I love this Fibblethip, the Lost art, where he's lost because that's his MO. Like the the Crypt Gas looks really good. The Lord of the Void looks very menacing.
I do actually really enjoy that Crypt Gast art. I like how he's just like talking to the ghosts around him. That's fun. The Birds of Paradise actually looks really nice. To be fair, is there a bad Birds of Paradise art? Like, they all look so good.
Yeah.
The Chromatic Lantern also, too, is...
The Lantern looks good. The Curio looks good. Like, all the artists did a great job with them. It's just not enough for me to just go, oh, I definitely need this one.
Yeah, and I think, too, like, just because, for example, like, this Tesa art is so pretty, but, like, would I want that on a Magic card? To me, it just, like, in the right environment, it looks good, but, like, for the art that I like for Magic cards, I'm just not a huge fan of that. So that's, like, a stylistic thing, you know? Well, anyways, I think the set is cool. There's definitely a handful of stuff that I'm going to pick up. Not a ton for me, but I think there's some really cool staples, so excited to see where prices end up, and yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking for these things, like, pick them up when before the prices go too far up or too far down. Like there's a lot of good cards from Ravnica in general. Cyclonic Rift, Kranko, Uvara, Hellkite. There's a lot of good cards from Ravnica, and a chunk of them have been reprinted in this set. So if you weren't around the first couple times, like, now would be a good time to pick them up, especially the Shocklands.
I agree. I think they're definitely going to be... I don't know if you've ever seen any of those TCG Player articles where it talks about, like, the top cards that were sold this week. I always find them really fascinating when new sets come out, just to see, like, what are the cards that people are picking up. I definitely think that you're going to see some of those Shocklands on there for sure.
They have to cram all 10 as number one.
Yeah, I don't know how they would do that.
It's the obvious number one answer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I think that's it for this video. Thank you for hanging out with me, and we'll catch y'all later.